asked. Well, hi, but we're here. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome.
It must be hot outside.
It's very hot outside. I am so happy to see your bright, shining faces despite the 107, or we had 107 against
109 to 111.
Oh my gosh. I didn't need to hear that.
No, I don't think I did either.
110 today or whatever.
Well, thank you all for coming, and we will go ahead and get started. If Fred would mind doing the invocation for us.
I'll say a prayer for Lawson. Okay. Say a prayer for my technicians.
Would you bow with me, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day of fellowship and fun. Thank you for Rotary because it gives us an opportunity to live up to our motto of service above self. Lord, we ask you will be with each person that's here today, representing their family, and a special prayer and shout out to Tamara and Fred Thomas as they go through the grieving process for their son. Again, bless this meeting and bless our speakers and bless those that cannot be here today. In your name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Michael, would you do the pledge for us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Catherine, do you want to introduce our guests? I know there are speakers, but...
We have with us today from CASA, Teresa Jimenez and Deb Williams.
Thank you. Okay, so real quick, I'll let y'all know that we are going to cut our meeting a little short this afternoon because they have a group coming in at 1:15. So we're going to kind of condense and move through so that we can be courteous since they don't charge us for the space. We want to be nice back. So with that, Steve is going to do a few brags for us.
I just got a weather alert on my Apple Watch. It's going to be dangerously hot. Okay.
Says the owner of Total Air.
Yeah, well, here we are. So let's see who wants to brag today. Anybody want to start off?
I will.
Okay, thanks, Glenn.
So it is hot, and it's going to be hot, but it was hot Saturday, and we still had, I think, counting everybody, 10 people come out and help us with our trash pickup at Adopt a Highway. It's amazing. Sometimes, like in April or whatever, we'll have a few slots to fill, but 10 is max, and I can't get them in April, but when it's 110, people come out and do it. So thank you, everybody. And I know Mark was there, Fred, Alex, Laura came, yeah, for the registration part, and I'm missing someone. Oh, Peter, who is online. Yes, Peter was there. Anyway, that's my brag.
Thanks, Clint. Mike, Fred, y'all got anything you want to brag about before you stick your bread in your mouth?
Well, I don't want to brag, but it was interesting in trash pickup. Usually you run across certain things on the ground and everything, but I think there were more gloves, but there was just one pair, one glove. Right. So I think what I'm going to do, I'll do like the hubcap people do. I'll start collecting those gloves and hang those up and see if somebody claims it. Some of them are pretty expensive gloves. That's my humor.
So you're not talking about like the little disposable gloves, you're talking about work gloves, right? You're talking about work gloves? All right. Mike?
I'd like to brag on the upcoming balloon festival. Make sure everybody's marked it off on your calendar. Glenn, Michelle. It's a big our fundraiser. We're doing some equipment upgrade, so we're going to be leaner and faster.
How many years have we been doing that?
102.
Good answer.
We are the oldest vendor oldest.
Speak for yourself.
The most longest tenured vendor in Balloon Fest. Anyway,
So it's been like 35 years or something, right?
At least.
Yeah.
Anyway, so put it on your calendar, start exercising. In this hot weather, get out in the heat and exercise so you be ready for the temperature of Balloon Fest.
Yeah, so September, the date,
25th. 25th.
Oh, great. I remember the good old days when we first started doing funnel cakes, and we used those burners like you use for a fish fry. And one time we're doing a Christmas event, and it was really windy. I looked down and my apron was on fire, burned a hole through it because it was so windy and blowing the flame off the burners. So yes, we are leaner, meaner, and safer these days. Rags, anybody? Yes, sir.
So I have a big and small. The small brag is that randomly at breakfast, I rescued a stray dog last week. Took it on down to Animal Services, and they didn't have a chip. So I posted it on Nextdoor and social media and found the owner that day. And they went back and got him.
That's cool.
They apparently have a chip. They just do a good job of scanning it. Note to self. All right. Then the bigger one is that there's a young man I've been mentoring and encouraging to seek leadership in his city, which happened to be Richardson. He applied for Leadership Richardson. I gave him a reference and he got in.
Very cool.
Ladies, you want to brag? Anything you want to brag about? Or you can just thank it for your program. Yep, we'll get to the people online.
Let me get you a different view.
Okay, I'm not going to start off by calling anybody. Just somebody want to brag? Speak up.
Those online. Mark.
Yes.
Mark?
I'm just going to take a personal brag. So tomorrow we're going to welcome our first grandchild, and I am 100% sure that that's going to be the cutest kid on the face of the planet. So
absolutely, yes.
First ever grandparent brag, and it's a little premature, but that's as good as you get.
It is. You'll enjoy that. I've got 4. Anybody else want to brag? Joanna, Peter, Laura?
Oh, I guess I can take a quick brag. I'm in lovely Divide, Colorado.
Nice.
78 degrees and slightly breezy. So sorry, y'all. I do have another unrelated brag. Y'all may remember about a year ago or so, we had a speaker from the Hendricks Scholarship Foundation. And I applied to be a coach for their scholarship recipient, among the scholarship recipients. And I was accepted as a coach. And so last Saturday, I got to meet I guess I call her my mentee, lovely young woman who will be going to SMU in the fall. So I'm real excited about that. It was fun.
That's awesome. Congrats. Got time for one more brag. Anybody online want to do it?
I'll do a brag. This is Kelly.
Hey, go ahead.
I don't have my video up because I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, but I guess my small brag is that I was able to come home and rest. So, but my big brag is that being down, it also gives me time. I've been working on my Turkish because, as many of you guys know, I'm going to Turkey next month to get to visit my birth father, and I get to meet. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, and I get to meet new family members that I've never met. So a lot of them speak English, but I'm trying to learn some Turkish. And I will tell you all hello and how are you? And I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but if you get the pronunciation right, the Turkish language is so beautiful. Merhaba, nasılsın? Nasılsın? So I said, hello, how are you?
Nice.
There's my brag.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we're trying to cut the meeting short, we'll stop brags now. Move on to another topic. In lieu of a classification talk, I volunteered to do some energy saving tips, not necessarily air conditioning related, but there's things you do need to know about these temperatures right now. I'll start off with the best investment you can make in making your home more energy efficient is insulation. Depending on the age of your home, anything that was probably built maybe for sure 2000 or earlier probably only has R19, and you really need to be around R38 to block as much heat from your roof from getting into the house. Also, those that have two-story homes and you have walls exposed to the attic, we call those knee walls. And honestly, I've never seen any of them insulated well. They normally just have bat insulation, is maybe R11. But just put your hand on the wall on the second floor of any wall exposed to the attic, you're going to feel it's around 100 degrees or more, probably hotter than that right now. So you could put more insulation on the walls. The way you would do that is just get you some chicken wire, and the chicken wire will just hold it up against those walls, keeping it from falling down. The next thing is your duct. Depending on the age of your home, we'll go around 2000 or older. The home was built. Most of those duct systems aren't sealed. So your air conditioning in your attic. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but I can tell you the calculations we do to figure out the size of air conditioning you need in your home, we're allowing for 25 to 30% leakage. There's other things that goes along with that. If your duct system isn't in balance, it goes inside the home into a negative pressure. So if you got a home with carpet that is dirty around the edges by the exterior walls, your carpet is acting as an air filter for the air that is pulling into the home under the walls. Thermostat settings. Air conditioners, again, depending on when your home was built, newer homes actually aren't designed as robust as I would like to see. Most of them are designed around 25 degrees below the outdoor temperature for air conditioning. So like on a 105-degree day, you're going to get 80. If you get below 80, that's pretty good. You know, most homes can get down to 75 without a problem. If you've got a programmable thermostat, I don't recommend that you raise the temperature during this extreme heat, because when it's going to try to recover is typically in the hottest part of the day, late afternoon, early evening, and that's when our temperatures peak. So just pick the temperature you want and leave it set for that right now, and don't cause your air conditioner to work overtime trying to catch up. Because if we're at 105 or better, it's very likely you're not going to even drop the temperature when you set it down lower until the sun goes down. Type of roof you have is important. In particular, attic ventilation. Newer homes, a lot of them have ridge vent. Some even have what we call sealed attics, where the attic is foamed at the roof level. And that kind of turns your house into an ice chest in a way. It helps the heat from getting in. The only downside of that is most houses like that are sealed good enough. They actually have to have a fresh air ventilation system so you get enough air changes per hour in your house of fresh air. Depending on where you live, like in Frisco, a lot of the houses there that have that, it's just a duct that runs from outside to your air conditioner. So it's sucking in 105, 110 degree air and dumping that right into your system. If you don't have any kind of control on that, you might want to consider getting something so on these ultra hot days, it'll keep you from pulling in that outside air. Lighting, you know, we're kind of getting away from your typical incandescent bulbs, the good old bulbs now. Most everything is turning either CFL, which is compact fluorescent, or LED. Many homes have can lights. This is the lights that go on the ceiling. And it's a can, and it's exposed to the attic. Older homes, probably from 2010 or older, those can lights aren't sealed. Every single one of them, if you don't have a two-story home that's exposed to the attic, lets in around 100 CFM of air from the attic into your home, which obviously the temperature is an issue, but the dust is too. There's a lot of newer LED bulbs that you can get that will just snap onto the frame, but it doesn't have any space around it anymore, so that you're blocking off those cans. Also, if you have cans that wink on and wink off, that's because they're getting too hot, and they have a little thermostat built into them to keep them from getting hot enough to start a fire. Those are bad. You ought to look at trying to get an electrician to possibly replace those sensors, or just replace the entire can with a sealed can. That's probably enough for today. But anyway, stay cool.
Yeah, we can take a question. What brand of model thermostat should you get? One that you control, or what do you call it?
That's a great question. I can tell you the one thermostat that every air conditioning contractor hates, and that's a Nest. Most people like them, but I can just tell you that they're problematic for the system. And for example, we run up against a problem when we change the system out and they want to reuse that thermostat, which is fine. If you don't keep that connected to power, that thermostat will shut down where you can't get it working again. And then the people get mad because their thermostat doesn't work and they have to buy a new one.
What model of brand?
Honeywell is probably the best known one. You can get those at big box stores. There's a lot of different choices, you know. Don't buy the cheapest one on that. You want an accurate thermostat that has a lot of features that you can set it, for example, to maintain different temperatures Monday through Friday, then Saturday and Sunday could be different. Honeywell is by far the best one that I can recommend for the do-it-yourselfers. A lot of the newer air conditioners, you got to go with the manufacturer's thermostat, because it's actually got what we call a communicating bus on them, where it interfaces with the thermostat and the equipment to know what's going on. So you got to use that brand that comes with the equipment. But if you got an existing home that doesn't require that, Honeywell's a really good one. White Rogers is another brand that's good. They're owned by Emerson. So those are the two. Fred?
I want to say this before you sit down. When I got into Rotary, I didn't realize, you know, some of the businesses that we had. Steve is total there, he's here to play. We've been used to him ever since we bought our house in '85. And then this Jehu right here is our insurance person.
Yeah.
I just.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
yeah.
How proud he is.
Yeah. We have lots of people in the club that we use too. You bet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Okay, so a couple of quick items for business. So just a few quick things, and then we will move on and let our guests come and do their presentation on CASA for us. So we have an opportunity, I think I might have mentioned this last week, we have an opportunity to partner with some of the other Rotaries, not just in Plano, but Richardson, whatever area around us, to do a food drive for a local nonprofit. Actually, we're going to do a food and clothing drive because the population that they serve is predominantly homeless. And so it's families and individuals, but they have a lot of families that come and see them. So I'm looking for someone that would volunteer to serve as the person for Plano West. We've got site location, we've got the list, we've got all of that stuff, but just someone to be that contact person in case anybody has questions. So if you're interested, holler at me. We have a Rotary Clubs at Plano meeting tonight. So I will report back to you guys on what we discuss at that. If anybody is interested in going, just let me know. I can give you the location and everything. Then Mike mentioned the Plano Balloon Festival. So it is the 22nd through the 25th of September. So watch your emails. We'll get the Sign Up Genius set up so that people can start plugging in these spots, because if memory serves, we have 88 spots that we need to fill. So it's not exclusive to us. We want family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, any and everybody that's got a pulse. We will take them. It's a lot of fun. I will tell you, it's a lot of fun. And then Glenn mentioned the service project on Saturday that went very well. We've got a couple more coming up this week. So if you guys haven't signed up to do any of these 4 projects, I know that they all still need volunteers. So go to the website and click on volunteer opportunities or service projects and pick one that you can spend a few hours with. And I know that they would love to have you out to help. So with that, we will let Joanna online introduce our speakers.
Okay. I actually thought that other people were coming to speak, so I'm not sure who's there.
Oh, that might help you. Here, we'll just, you know what, we're going to be unconventional. We will let Debbie and Teresa introduce themselves.
Okay.
Thank you, Joanna.
Excellent.
Yes, we've had a slight change in plans as our executive director is out sick, and I believe the person you were speaking with, Amanda, she's also out today. So we have the pleasure of sharing CASA with you. My name is Teresa Jimenez. I'm the development director, which is just a fancy title for the fundraiser. So I help write the grants, coordinate the events, work with our donors, and get to tell our story out in the community.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Debbie Williams, and I'm the program director for CASA of Collin County. And that's just a way of saying I'm responsible for all of the volunteerism that happens, selection, recruiting, training, ongoing training, as well as the staff that works directly with the children and the families that we serve. So I'm more on the program side of CASA of Collin County. I'm happy to get us started if we want to. And Joanna, I don't know if you can hear me or not, and I don't know if you remember me, but I want to do a quick little brag. Joanna was a CASA volunteer at one point in her life. So thank you for your service, Joanna.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure how familiar my audience is about CASA of Collin County, or more importantly, or as importantly, the landscape that we serve in. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our agency, but in so doing, I want you to understand a little bit about the environment or the child welfare system that we serve in. That will help you understand how we fit in the system. What you see on the overhead is our mission. Our job, our goal is to promote and protect the best interest of children who've been abused or neglected by training volunteer advocates to improve the child's quality of life and lift their voice within the court system. What that doesn't say is that we do that through volunteer advocates who are closely and carefully worked with by a professional staff. So our staff is an equally important piece of the puzzle of CASA. So I just want to make sure that I mention that. Our vision is that all children deserve to live in a safe and loving home, free from abuse and neglect. All right, thank you. We can go ahead.
Sorry.
So this next slide tells you a little bit about the child welfare system. Generally speaking, and I'll say it about 60,000 feet, generally speaking, most people don't really understand the process of how a child protective services becomes involved with a family. Most often, the people that I speak with hear about a case in the news, and those are obviously the more difficult, challenging cases if they make a news story. But what that story ends with is kids were removed by Child Protective Services, and most of you think, now they're taken care of. The truth is that's where their journey begins, and that's where we come in. But for Child Protective Services to become involved means someone from the community has made a referral. They have, for whatever reason, have a concern about a child or a family. And in the state of Texas, we are all considered mandated reporters. There are, of course, legal definitions of mandated reporters. But in the state of Texas, any adult that has reason to believe that a child is in danger, by law, your job is to report that to Child Protective Services, not to vet it out yourself, but to leave that to the professionals who are trained to do that. So if you ever believe that a child or family is in danger, your job is to report that to Child Protective Services. And you can do that via a hotline, or you can do that also online. So Child Protective Services is the arm of the state of Texas that receives those referrals from the community and goes out and does an investigation. If they believe children are at risk of harm, they by law may remove those children from their parents, at least temporarily, and provide services to those children or families. Now, the landscape of child welfare is changing somewhat. There's some new federal legislation and changes within our state, as well as a trickle down from the federal legislation that really says we want to remove children only in the most extreme circumstances, only if truly that's the only way to provide for their safety in that moment. Removing a child from all that they know is traumatic. It's hard to kind of wrap your brain around sometimes, but being taken away from, especially if you're little, from all that you know and being placed in a home that you know nothing about, you know no one there, they may not even speak your language, it doesn't smell the same, that's frightening. So the goal is to remove only if that's the only way to provide for the safety, the immediate physical safety of kids. If children are removed in the state of Texas by law, that's when the court system becomes involved. So we work with Child Protective Services, and Child Protective Services and CASA operate within a body of laws called our Texas Family Code. And our district courts oversee the processing of these cases and ensure that the laws of the state of Texas are followed. So once Child Protective Services receives a referral, if they believe children are in danger, they go out and do an investigation. If they believe children must be removed, they have the legal authority to do that, and then must seek the approval from the court to maintain those children away from their parents. And in Collin County, it is at that point that CASA of Collin County becomes involved. In Collin County, it is an automatic that if children are removed from their homes, CASA of Collin County is court ordered to be involved in every one of those removals. We serve 100% of the children who are removed because of abuse or neglect in Collin County. We are fortunate that we've been able to do that since really the late 90s, and we serve as their guardian ad litem in Collin County, which is a heightened way to serve children. Per the statute, Texas Family Code says that a guardian ad litem shall do certain things. And so that is where we get our mandate to serve these children and families. Let me back up a little bit and tell you, CASA as a concept was developed by a judge in Washington State back in the late 1980s, who felt like he was making life-changing, hopefully life-saving decisions for children and their families, but he felt like he was making some of these decisions based on an incomplete or maybe a biased set of facts. So his vision was to recruit people from the community. Didn't need to be PhDs in psychology, didn't need to be social workers, people who were not jaded, who were willing to be objective, who were willing to receive extensive training, and with supervision of a professional staff, agreed to serve as these children's voice in court. Their goal, his goal, was to train people to have only the best interest of children in mind. And that's the model that we follow here in Collin County. So it's a given in Collin County, children are removed, CASA is automatically appointed, and we set about serving as their guardian ad litem. So what does that mean? Again, from sort of 60,000 feet, we have a body of volunteers. We keep volunteers trained, screened, and we are extremely thorough in our screening process. They must pass a thorough background screening and a very hefty, comprehensive, cumulative training, what we call pre-service training, and then they are assigned to a staff person. We don't give a volunteer case and say, good luck, see you later. They work very closely with a professional staff. And so we set about being the child's guardian ad litem, which means we are neutral and objective, and we are there to lift their voice throughout the court process. We do work directly with the children, so we're in their homes, whether that's a foster home, whether they're with parents or relatives. It is our job, our courts, our judges expect that we will have our finger on the pulse of exactly how those children are doing on any given day. We do appear at court hearings. We provide written reports to the court and update the court as to how the children are at any given moment, how parents are at any given moment. Our hope, our goal throughout the course of Child Protective Services being involved in families, our hope is that parents engage in services, whatever those may be, and it looks different for every family, but our hope is that parents engage in services and make whatever changes necessary such that it's safe for kids to return home. I've done this a really, really long time, and I can probably count on two hands the number of kids who say, I don't want to go home. 9.99999 number of kids say, I want to go home. I want to be safe. Don't want to be hurt anymore. Don't want to be scared anymore, but I want to be at home. It is incredibly healing if and when parents choose their children and make whatever changes necessary such that it is safe for kids to be reunified with their families. And that happens all the time. That's such a huge success. Doesn't always happen, unfortunately, but in the end, Child Protective Services provides services to families. CASA does not provide services. We gather information. We gather information from service providers. How are parents doing in their services? How are kids doing in their services? What kinds of improvement have been made? Again, we make reports to the court, including that information that we've gathered. Our job is to provide recommendations temporarily. Are kids safe right now? Are they receiving the services that they need right now? Are they getting the help that they need right now? Are parents receiving the services that they need right now? Ultimately, our job is to make a recommendation about whether or not we think it's in the best interest of children to be reunified with their families. It's no small task. Ultimately, we don't make the final decision, and frankly, I'm glad about that. Our job is very frontline. It is very hands-on. Our goal is to improve the life of children and families while they're involved in the Child Protective Services system. I don't know if any of you know anything about Child Protective Services. It's a government system agency that is, it's an impossible job, quite honestly. Those workers have 48 hours worth of work to do in a 24-hour day, every day. They start every day with a list of to-dos, and by 10, they've got 75 fires burning and probably haven't even started their to-do list. So the beauty of our volunteers, typically our volunteers work with one family, as opposed to a caseworker from Child Protective Services who's serving numerous families. You do the math. We have a volunteer who can provide more intense involvement versus a Child Protective Services caseworker who truly is doing their best to juggle a whole lot of balls. And so it is our court's expectation that we know exactly what's happening with those kids, make recommendations temporary, and then ultimately make a recommendation about whether or not we think it's in the best interest of children to go home. That's it, big picture. That's what our volunteers do on the daily. Hands-on, very involved. I think our volunteers would tell you it's an amazing opportunity to make a difference in a child's life. It's also an opportunity to really grow and learn about themselves. We have a quick video if you want to start it.
Growing up is tough for a kid. They have school and homework, practices and games. There are doctor's appointments and detention halls. The making friends and the keeping friends, discovering who they are and who they aren't. There's so much to learn. There's this whole world out there, right here. These times are transforming in someone's story, and they can really be quite chaotic. That chaos of being a child only increases when abuse and neglect fill their home. The normal winds of chaos are now a storm. And sometimes, when the storm is so great, a child must be removed from their home. And this is a really tough day. It's complicated and it's painful. When a child is removed from their home because of abuse or neglect, they leave their normal and they enter foster care. The court sends them to a new place, a new home, often to a new school with new people, new everything. And all of these new things aim at a better life for the child. They aim to help in the healing process for the family. But it's still tough. They still have the school activities, the doctor's appointments, and the lessons to learn. But now court dates, visits with parents, and check-ins with social workers quickly bombard the calendar. And there's the pain of separation from what they know and where they feel comfortable. There are hundreds of children in our city who experience chaotic days like this, weeks like this, years like this. And these days, weeks, and years are difficult. They're exhausting and isolating. They're really tough. But there are ways to help, ways to bear the burdens the child is carrying, ways to make the days less tough. These children need to feel more supported. They need someone constant who is on their team, someone who is fighting for their best amidst all the shuffle. And a CASA volunteer provides this help. A court-appointed special advocate helps bear these burdens. They are the constant amidst the chaos. In the middle of all the shuffle and uncertainty, they know the child. There are still tough days, but now there's someone standing up for the child, day in, day out. Someone who knows both the biological and foster parents. Someone who meets with the teachers, doctors, and social workers to ensure the child's needs are being met. Someone who speaks for the child's best interest in court. Someone who the judge counts on for insight. Someone who cares about the child and just lets them be a kid. Someone who is there for the tough days, the great days, and the in-between days. This someone is so important. This someone is a CASA volunteer. And there are hundreds of children in our city waiting for a CASA volunteer. They're waiting for someone to speak up for them. They're waiting for someone to help weather the storm. Each child in foster care needs this support, this someone to count on. Be this someone for a child in foster care. Be their advocate. Be a powerful voice for their best interest. Be a CASA volunteer. Growing up is tough.
Okay. With that, I'm going to go over just some fun numbers. We're going to look at 2021, our statistics, so who we served. Last year, we served 401 children with 322 active advocates. And what active means is that they were serving a case. With over 15,000 hours and almost 108,000 miles traveled to visit their child. To date, well, as of May 31st, we have served 283 children with 187. We provide three training classes per year. So we've gone through 2 and we have 1 more coming up in the fall. And so you'll see our active advocates, that kind of goes up and down throughout the year. As of May, we've served over 5,000 total hours and 50,000 miles driven. And that too is a big impact. And our children are placed all over the state and can also be placed out of state. So our advocates are creative in staying engaged with them and meeting with them wherever they are placed and ensuring that they are safe and that their needs are being met. And while we understand not everybody can be an advocate, there are always many, many ways to help. And here are some ideas, but the list it goes on and it can get creative. Always awareness. So now that you know a little bit more about CASA, sharing that in the community and finding either somebody who would be a great advocate or somebody who would be a great just a volunteer to support our events, to support our office needs, sharing our story across social media, word of mouth, presentations like this. If you know another great group who needs to hear our story, please let us know. As a nonprofit, donations help us keep our lights on, and our advocacy program is our only program that we have. So it is our meat and potatoes. It's the sole program that our funding provides. So one-time or recurring donations, in-kind gifts such as goods or services. We have a toy room that supplies needed toys and back to school supplies for our kiddos throughout the year. These are special because our advocates celebrate birthdays with them, celebrate milestones, provide these items, maybe if the child's going to court and need an item to be with them, a coloring book, or just to connect. Sometimes we have quilts come in, and a first time meeting might be a good way to introduce each other with this simple fun toy. Corporate donations. So a lot of people don't realize that there are matching donations for sometimes volunteering, or if you have given at one point, asking your company to match that donation. We will sometimes see that come in and double your impact. Events coming up, we have our annual gala, which is our only fundraising event, and it's our largest fundraising event for the year, and that's on September 10th. Holiday is another big time for us. We provide our kiddos with gifts to make their holidays a little bit brighter. Sometimes they can be a little bit tough. And our board of directors, we're always looking to recruit. If you have a voice and would like to support in that capacity as well. So there's lots of other ways not listed here. I've left some brochures, general information across the table. Our contact information is also available on our website. Trisha is, again, our CEO and not able to attend, but you're welcome to email her for information. I will also leave some information, I guess, with you, Joy, our impact report from last year. So now we'll open up the floor to questions.
How much time does it take to get an advocate trained to where they're ready to work?
Great question. So our training, pre-service training is what we call it, is about 35 hours long. And it is, as Teresa mentioned, offered about 3 times a year. And it's a set calendar 2 times a week in the evening from about 6 till about 9 over about a 4-week period. That's the pre-service training. So you complete that, and then there's some outside classroom work as well, about 5 more hours. So it's about a 35-hour training. Then you're actually sworn in by one of the district court judges to be a volunteer. And then we require advocates to participate in 12 hours of in-service or ongoing training annually once they become sworn in as an advocate.
Once they become an advocate, how much time is involved in?
Yeah, great question. So it's going to look different, obviously, for every situation, but we say on average about 15 to 20 hours a month. And we ask that, you saw in the video, changes dictate and dominate these kids' lives. So we ask that if you commit to serving as an advocate, we ask that you commit to serving the life of a case, and that's typically about 18 months. Again, it's not set in stone, but we ask that for the children's sake, you commit to serving the life of a case. So about 18 months. Yes, ma'am.
I have a statement and a question. First of all, such important work that you all do. Thank you so much. I know that so many of us will never, if we're not involved, will never completely understand not just the physical requirements, but the emotional impact that you have to experience and the need right here in our community that we don't always think about because we don't see it. And so we don't think about it. And sometimes we think that we don't fit the profile. So thank you. The second question, you talked about toys. Are these new toys and the used toys both what?
We ask for new and gently used.
Okay. I asked because my daughter-in-law recently purged my grandchildren's toys, and I told her, look, these are useful. Some of them have been touched, some of them have not. So I have about 6 boxes of things at my house, and I've just been looking for the right place to put them. So is there an address, or is there, what's the process for donating?
Yes, that's a great question. This is the perfect timing because we are restocking our toy room now, kind of a mid-year restock. You can always come by our office. You can always drop in. We are in downtown McKinney, 101 East Davis. We're a quick Google search as well. And also if you visit our website, you can always find a contact. My contact is right up there, or our office manager, a general email, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Is someone always in the office, or would I need to call and schedule a drop off?
So at this point, we have some special summer hours, so no. But right now our office, we do have somebody in the office Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Yeah. Yeah, always best to call, and even on those off days of Monday, what did I say? Monday and Wednesday, it can always be coordinated. Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you walk away, one of the names is going to be incorrect because, again, we thought Trisha was coming. In appreciation for your time spent to prepare this program and deliver it to us, we make a donation in your name to the Polio Plus Foundation. So you will be getting a thank you in the mail. Hopefully, if I get your address, you can get a thank you letter in the mail from Rotary International thanking you for all that you do. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And with that, so next week I will butcher his name if I try to say it. We have Bob from Connemara Conservancy. I looked him up. I had no idea that there was one here locally. But so he's going to come next week on Mike's birthday to share with us a little more information about that. And so if you will join me in the 4-way test.
The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First. Second.
It's fair to all concerned.
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth.
It's beneficial to all concerned.
Rotary. So there, Norma's has somebody coming in here, another group in just a few minutes, so we don't want to dally too much here. So that's why we're ending a little early.